If everybody would please rise, we'll have our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Please make sure your phones are either off or on vibrate. We would appreciate it.
God Almighty, please guide us tonight as we tend to the town's democracy and review our budget. We need your leadership and guidance. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening, everyone, and we thank you for being here. I want to take a minute and thank staff and all the department heads for all the hard work that they've put in to get this budget ready. We've got 4 or 5 items to go through tonight. So what I'm going to do is, tonight we are presenting the full budget. But I remind everybody this is a workshop, so it's about listening, learning, and asking questions in an orderly way. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask that the comments and questions wait till each department head finishes their presentation. That way each and every one of us can answer and can get our questions and have them answered. In our September Town Council meeting, we'll come back with even more details on our property tax story. We're working with the Florida League of Cities right now, and they're putting a study together for us that we should have here shortly. And this is going to include the millage breakdown, just versus taxable value, homestead reliance, save our homes impact, and comparison with our neighboring communities. So at this time, we'll go ahead and get started on the budget. And I believe we have Harry. We're going to do our horticultural. Oh, wait a minute. First, before I do that, Clerk, would you poll the council?
Mayor Holbrook?
Here.
Councilmember Hayes?
Here.
Councilmember Worley?
Here.
Councilmember Charles?
Here.
Councilmember Eberhardt?
Here.
Okay, thank you.
It's on. I just don't know where you want to start.
Harry going first? Harry's going first. Oh, Harry's going first. So do you want to go or not?
I think when we left off last, we were at the end of the cultural services.
If you have a budget booklet, horticulture is going to be page 46 in the booklet.
So, Harry, if you want to just jump in whatever you want to. Can you hear me better? Okay, thank you. On this budget, it didn't change that much. So this budget went from, well, $845,000 to 1.4, but this is because it got some projects going on in here. Other than that, for the operation, it's about the same. So if Harry, you want to go over the projects?
In the last meeting, we were on the cultural capital, where we were speaking of the lights and.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
No.
Put it on this side. Can you hear me now?
I find that you have to talk directly into it for us to be able to hear.
Is that better? Okay. So we were going over the lights and bleachers and stuff like that in the cultural capital. I thought we got most of the way through that. I think people were asking questions at that time, so.
Harry, could you expand a little bit on the field lights so that they understand the reason why we have a large amount in there and how long we've needed to replace those and what the condition is?
So on fields 1 and 2, a lot of the poles are rotten at the top. So those would be complete redoing it. You know, it's a complete replacing poles, lights, everything on those. The reason you really can't just go up and fix them is the tops of the poles are rotten. So if we just put a Band-Aid on it and fix those, and just so happens that a fixture comes down because the pole is rotten, then you have to shut down the whole field because you don't know what's going to happen with the rest of them. Like I said, those poles are no good anymore. Field 3 has already been replaced. Field 4 has metal poles. That's why we don't need to replace the poles there. And Field 5, those poles aren't as in bad shape as Field 1 and 2.
So,
also-
Harry, this will be then for both 4 and 5 fields, all of the lighting will be replaced?
On Field 4 and 5, it's just going to be replacing fixtures.
So 4 and 5 is just fixture lights?
And then on Fields 1 and 2 is replacing, let me make sure. Fields 1 and 2 would be a full replacement, poles, lights, electric lines.
And I know every year you put in money for lights and it gets pulled out, right? I think last year we saw it on there, it got pulled out and that. And so this 300,000 is going to come from infrastructure. Is there an opportunity with this new grant software to identify grants for lights?
They are looking into various grants, and I think one is LED lights, but it's no guarantee that they'll get it, but she is looking into all grants, all departments in all areas.
And this will be replacing with LED lights also. So it will also lower the electric bill down there also.
Right, because that electric bill for those Lake June Park is like $20,000 a year. It's
There's
pretty-
multiple bills down there, but when they start using the lights, the big bill comes from that main concession stand. That's where the lights come from, and it goes up to over $1,000,
Yeah.
like $1,600, $1,700 a month.
Do the people that use the field pay for the lighting power?
They do not.
They never have?
They never have.
And how much does that run? Just kind of,
Like I said, just the one concession stand, the large one where the light use comes from, during season is between $1,500 and $1,700 a month.
how much?
$1,500 to $1,700 a month.
Last year, the budget had, I mean, because I remember asking that question, it was $20,000 was the electric bill. It's probably on here somewhere, right? But I guess you're saying there's multiple electric bills?
Yeah, there's multiple meters down there, so it's multiple electric bills.
So it may be hard exactly how much the lights, but those lights are on a lot, and it seems like, I thought when we did a lot of that, there was going to be fee-based, right? But, so the fees that we charge for the people that use the ball fields are only for,
Capital improvements is what I understand is the user fee.
which is what this is. Okay.
If I could make a comment, since Councilwoman Charles said something about fees, you do have on the dais where you're sitting, we provided a facility rental with the comparisons from 2012 to 2017, and then provided the 24-25. We were not looking to go over this. We've talked about it several times. However, we wanted to provide you with an easier snapshot view to be able to view it. And if you want to discuss it in the September meeting, we can, or here. It's up to your pleasure.
And Charlotte, just to point out on that fee schedule, there is $28 that says for field electrical on it. So I'm not sure what the process has been in the past on charging the lighting.
So field lights for $28 is when somebody comes out there to use the field like once or twice, and they want lights, I charge them $28 an hour for the
So
lights.
not the league.
Not the league.
$28 an hour or 28?
$28 an hour. That's
Okay.
just what always has been on there, so that's what I've always charged.
Okay. All right, any other questions of Harry?
Well, there's two more capital items, right? So the 66,000 is for a new truck. And is that equipment just for the ball fields for Lake June Park?
You said 66,000?
I'm,
Yes.
yeah, it says 66,124. and
No,
then-
that's not for trucks, there's 376 for a Sam Pro machine and attachments, 20,000 for a new truck, and then almost 11 for a new
Can't see
mower.
it all.
Yeah, the cells blur, squished together.
But yes, the Sam Pro machine would be for the ball fields, the new mowers for the ball fields, and the new truck would be for a new position.
Okay.
And we talked a little bit before about the sand machine for grooming, and you said it's been in or out of the budget for 9 years. You've been trying to get it. And I said to Harry, I'm trying to find any way we can save money on the budget. And would it be possible to get donations from ball players for the sand machine? So I'm
I
just
personally don't
putting
think
it
they're
out there
going to
for fun.
donate. The youth league is not going to donate money towards any equipment, in my opinion.
We have talked about having an agreement because there's not been a standing agreement with the ball league. We give things away for free. That's the way it feels sometimes. However, they do provide a recreation to the community and also for our youth, so we see that there is a need for that. I think that we have an opportunity to be able to sit down and develop an agreement and come up with what that looks like, because the ball club does have basically exclusive use of the ball field. And Harry, you'll have to go through all of the areas that they have exclusive use of, because sometimes when we have these conversations, it's as though the town is not taking care of it, or we're not providing a service, but we are. There are a lot of things that we do that people don't realize. So Harry, will you go through all of the areas that they have exclusive use of?
They have where our garage is at, they have their own storage facility there. They just put in a new AC split unit there, but they keep all their equipment in there. It's their equipment building. The large concession stand, they're the only ones that use that. They have all the stuff in there, the stove, the refrigerators, freezers, that all belongs to them. The batting cages, they tell people that they're not allowed to use the batting cages, although I let people use the batting cages, but not their equipment in there. But so pretty much the batting cages, the large concession stand, and a storage room. And they have a wish list for the concession stand for us to replace a bunch of stuff in there, but it is all stuff that they have worn out exclusively. Nobody else uses it.
Do we get any fees from the concession stand at all? Do we get any royalty, any use?
We don't make anything off
No,
of their
so-
concessions. We get the $20 user fee per player at the ball fields on their league.
So on this sand machine, right, this is how much, 66,000? What is it?
35,376.
What are you using today, and, because you don't have one?
The
Or do they-
only thing that we use to groom anything down there is a wooden drag-behind nail machine that I made. It's just a 4x4 thing that I drove a bunch of nails through to loosen up the dirt.
Kind of like the drag the old mattress type
Yep.
in the old days.
Yep. And then we have a tiller on the back of our Kubota that we have down there, so we just till up around the warning track and have no way to groom it. We just drag that nail drag that I made across it. This machine will let us edge that up, it will groom it, it'll let us groom the base pads and stuff like that. There's a ton of other attachments you can buy for it in the future that will help make it look a lot better down there.
I think historically, it's a social change that we used to have people donate. I mean, I know one family, $10,000. They would come in and donate money. And then when you had a volunteer day, it was jam-packed. And so now that's all gone away. It's a society type of change. It's not anybody's fault. It's just the way it is. Nobody shows up to have work days, and nobody's donating the money that they used to. So I think that is something that we have to address, because it's a big change, big change.
We had a lot of agricultural guys when I first started bringing my kids down there to play, and they donated all the chemicals, and there was actually one guy that used to come out there and mow all the time, and during work days we had a ton of people. Now you won't get anybody to show up on a work day.
Have we asked them in any way, the ball people, to see what type of volunteer help they can do in getting the fields groomed?
They've tried to do volunteer days, and the only persons that ever show up are the president that asked for the work day, and then nobody shows up, and they get frustrated and just go home.
Yeah, this is another tough one, right, where they have a need, but it comes on the town taxpayers to increase the millage 18% in order to fill their need. It's a very tough one, my opinion.
Okay.
And then the last one is the $6.99 for pickleball, but that's what's coming out of Capitol, but it's actually revenues coming from the other areas, right?
I'm not 100% where that's coming
It has some grant
Yeah, it has.
and also some money out of general fund, 200,000.
200,000 is general fund, and the others are grants that we'd see elsewhere in the revenue section. And Charlotte, maybe this is to you. We just signed that Kimley Horn contract, which is $52,000, whereas before it was Polston for $25,000. So does the 200,000? I mean, where does that additional 27,000 come from? Does that come from more of the general fund, or is that?
My understanding is it's only the 200,000 that we're contributing from the pickleball portion.
So
Correct, Eva?
the budget for the 699 included 25,000 for Polston to do design. The mayor signed a contract for 52,000. So the 27,000 different comes out of Harry's budget? General fund? Where does that come from? Or less something else has to be reduced in the
No, it doesn't.
pickleball project?
Eva going to answer the first question. I answer the second one about the funding.
Yeah, the funding, my understanding is we will be doing our first invoice to the FERDAP, to the state. You start doing the state funding. Once the state funding is exhausted, then we will start using some of our match. At that point, because the county's last, county will start putting in their funding of $299,000, I forget what it was, but 299 something. And then we'll start tapping in and then get reimbursed. So that's how that all works.
And this project is in the cultural service because cultural service only Lake June Park. So of course it's going to come out of this department.
So if all the other costs come in as estimated, then Harry's budget is overstated 27,000?
No, we are only contributing 200,000 out of general fund. Everything else is grant.
Let me restate that. We've secured funding, which is only 200,000, and I'm just going to round up, 700,000. Can I do that for pickleball? And out of that 700,000 estimate, the breakdown was 25,000 for design engineering. We just signed a contract with Kimley Horn for 52,000 for project engineering. My question is, where's the 27,000 increase coming from? Is it one of the other areas is going to reduce 27,000 to keep it the 700,000? Are we going to spend 727,000? That's just,
Should the project go over the amount,
Yep.
it will come back to you as far as saying, hey, this is the project amount, and the cost went up. But as of today, we're looking at that price to be the total for the project.
okay.
Are there any other questions?
Well, do we want to entertain taking out the sand machine and hope to get donations? Or what's the opinion?
We're not going to get donations. I don't see that happening. It just hasn't been happening. I mean, you call a work day, nobody comes. You can hope that they'll come. You can try to motivate them, but if they're not showing up, they're just not showing up. And if you can't get donations from people nowadays, I mean, I don't know what's happened, but I don't know if it's the price of, I don't know what's happened in our society, but it's just moved to, people used to donate, and they used to donate all the fertilizer, and they used to donate so much, and now they just don't donate, and you can't make people donate. I mean, you just can't make them. So, and you can't make them come and volunteer. That's what it's called, volunteer. I mean, you can't make them show up.
We don't have the same people on the board and playing down there anymore that we used to either. Like I said, there was a lot of agriculture people, and they were always about donating time and chemicals and stuff like that. They even had a tractor at one point donated down there, but the people that run it now, it's a total different type of, they're in different lines of work and stuff like that, and their mindset is the town needs to be doing every single thing down there, and they feel like that they take care of everything down there, which they do not, so their mindset is that we should be paying for everything.
I think another approach is you put that on a list to then come back to once you find where we are overall. I mean, a month ago when we had these workshops, we added things that weren't on here. So what does that mean? That means things need to fall off. Because this budget right now that we're discussing goes from a 3.1 to the top, a 3.65. Can't go any more. So that's where, I guess how I thought this would be as we would go through it, we would be having a list of things that we talked about 4 weeks ago that we needed to add on. We had talked, and I don't see them here, but, one of the things was funding for playground equipment in Lake June Park. There's nothing in here, and I feel that that is more needed than the sand machine. But 4 weeks ago, we added things. I don't know who kept track of those, but we added some things that weren't in the budget. We're going to have to find things that have to come out of the budget or figure out how they're going to be funded. I mean, it's a tough one, and I support the youth activities that are taking place with the ball teams. I support it 100%, but there has to be some type of it can't all be on the town taxpayers. That's what we're talking for this 18% ad valorem. It is the town taxpayers. It's not the surrounding community. So it's a tough one. I get it. Charlotte, did you keep a list, or Rachel, anybody keep a list of the items that we talked about 4 weeks ago that needed to be adjusted?
I'll go back and review, but I don't remember any changes from the last workshop.
Eva, turn it this way a little bit and see if we can.
I don't recall, I'm gonna have to go back and look, because I don't recall any changes being made at the last budget workshop.
So I brought up playgrounds for Lake June Park, so nothing is getting adjusted for that?
So they didn't put the playground in there because we was looking at grants. game time and another grant that they're looking in, and then they will bring that back to you at a later date to say, hey, we got a grant and we get awarded or what have you. So there is stuff happening as for the playground, but it's just not in place right now. So that will be a future budget conversation.
Or we can take it out of infrastructure, like these projects are coming out of. If the council so agrees.
Right.
May I? I think that the quality of fields is important. I mean, if we're going to have them, we need to keep up the quality. I think that's one of the deals. So the problem is that, okay, so say like 98, 99% of the people that come there, we're talking about taxpayers, they're not paying, they're not in our town. So what do you do with that? Well, we're a host, and we're a great host, and we do a good job, and we try to do the best we can, but we're going to have to raise the user fees. Nobody wanted to raise user fees. Well, those are, if you're going to use it, then I think that they should be paying it because it is all on the taxpayers, and they want quality. We give them quality, but you have to raise the user fees for our facilities. Whatever facility it is, we want it to be nice. We want to provide that facility, but they're going to have to start helping pay for that.
If I could interject on that, just to hone in a little bit. If you look at our fees, that was part of the reason why we brought this up so many times, because the staff have recognized that. If you look at Stewart Park in 2012, it was $60 per hour, $240 for a half day, $360 for all day for Stewart Park. In 2017, we dropped it to $50, and it's been that way. We asked for it to be changed and just move it up a little bit. So we tried to make small incremental changes that would be able to help offset some of the costs.
Lake June Park is $25 to rent one of the fields. Just one field is $25.
I will have to, there was a comment made that we have loved the people in the town and the people who utilize our town so much that it is killing our town. And we're feeling the effects of it now. The Sand Pro machine, Harry said, has been on here for 9 years. I think
Not
that
9 consecutive years, but multiple times, and every time it gets rejected. And then I would just like to point out that we get a lot of negative comments about how the park looks, but when stuff like this gets rejected and we get the negative comments, it comes to me. It needs to go to y'all that reject it for me. And I mean, I take the heat for it, but it ultimately goes back to you.
Charlotte, what did you say? Say what you said again. I wasn't clear about people are ruining our town. What were you just saying?
I didn't say they were ruining our town.
Okay.
That's definitely
That's
not
what
what
I
I
want
said.
you to kind of,
I did not say that. What I said is there was a comment made that we have loved the people in our town and who use our town to the point where it's killing our town because we do not have the infrastructure to support the town. We do not have any of the money. When we say that this is a bare bones budget, and I understand that we want to cut it, where do you cut? Because it's bare bones. Harry just said these are items that he was told after new council came on to put on. Put everything on there and then take it off. And Rachel will go through in just a little while and she will show you that we've gone through this budget and pulled off things as much as we can.
May I? In the past years, I have it tallied here, since 2007, 2009, most of the years, they've taken in less revenue than the year before. And then that didn't even account for inflation. So we're in the hole. They've been killing us with kindness is what I was calling it. They're trying to be kind to the taxpayers and reduce the millage rate, taking less than the year before. And you can't do that. Finally, you got to bite the bullet and get things back in shape.
so I didn't
agree.
see that. I mean, yes, we the prior town council, right, of which 3 people are on this council, may have some feedback, but yes, the rates went down, but the ad valorem revenue went up every year. The thing, where do we get the money from? It's from our reserves. We have a lot of reserves that we haven't really tapped into. And later you'll talk about the reserves, right? We've got a general fund reserve, we've got infrastructure reserve. So there's, and we have CRA, which is a whole different that, we can use. So that's where we take a look at what are some of the things. I mean, I would put them on there, and then at one point when we have the final approval, then that's where you make the decision, what can you do and what can't you do.
Okay, let me clarify. In some of those years, like way back, they charged less than the rollback rate. So even though there was more housing, more whatever, they charged less than the rollback rate. And the rollback rate, as I understand it, is what was charged, the revenue from the prior year. So they were taking in less revenue than the prior year. In fact, one year, here are some of the years. One year, it was 14% below the revenue from the prior year. 6.7 below, 8% below, 17.4% below the prior year's revenue. You can't survive that way.
See, Joy, I looked at it a different way. I just laid out the ad valorem dollars of each of the years. And for the last 5 years, the ad valorem dollars have increased year after year. Why? As the millage rate was decreased. So why is that? Property values have gone up, as everybody knows. The property values have been increased. We have had more construction of houses taking place, and those are things that are going to add to the revenue dollars. So yes, rollback, yes, percent, yes, millage went down, but the just for ad valorem, those dollars have gone up every year.
So
One thing that I really kind of knew, I'm in real estate, I'm a broker, and I know about Homestead, and I know about Save Our Homes. I mean, it's been years now. The problem with that is if you have a $2 million house, you could be paying taxes on $600,000, and they only go up 3% a year. So just because the values of property is going up does not mean that we're getting a home run. It's only going 3% up a year. If you look at what just go out and live, you think things have gone up over 3% a year this year? Yeah. So the values look great, but the actual, what we're taxing on is protected, and I think that's why the governor's looking at all of those property taxes, because we've gotten to the point where if you live in your house long enough, you could be in a multi-million-dollar house, and the guy down there in another subdivision or paying $600,000, he's paying more taxes than you are, $2 million, and it's only going up 3% a year. So I think that's why the governor's looking at it. I don't know if he's going to do some of the things he's going to do. I don't know how that's going to really fix it, but I think that's what's going on. I think finally with Save Our Homes, we're to a point now with the government that it's not keeping up with what it costs to take care of that person in that home. We don't want them to lose their home, that's for sure. But what are we going to do about that? Because they're not supporting themselves. We can't support them anymore. We just can't do it.
Councilwoman Charles, I agree with you when you say that the ad valorem been going up a little bit every year, but inflation has also been offsetting that. And then they also trying to make sure that they do provide the service. So they try to keep the same level of service. In order to do that, it's going to have to take the 3.65 in order to do it. Otherwise, we're going to keep dipping into the fund balance every year until it's going to be no operations in the fund balance. So there is a fund balance, and then there's the operating one, and then there's a capital one, right? So we're trying to stay within the operating budget to make sure that the town can operate. Financially, the town is fine, but if it keeps going into the fund balance, then every year we're going to start seeing a bigger problem, and just getting stagnated at the ad valorem. That has created an issue over the years, where more fund balance has been added every year to just to balance the budget.
But we haven't been dipping into the fund balances.
The cost has been going up. Because some of the projects that they do and some of the items that they purchase, it's a lot more every year. Every year they put off the purchase, then the next year it's going to be even more than that. So it does go into the fund balance. Does it exceed the amount to balance the budget? Maybe not, because sometimes they don't get some of the projects done. They kind of lap into the next year. So it kind of, the projects that rolls over, that's the thing that actually helping the budget, helping us to keep the operations going.
Okay, thank you.
I was trying to figure out too, I don't know, I read in the paper, thank you, newspaper, that there were over 900 homes built in the Sebring metropolitan area. Now, I don't know how many of those were in the city of Sebring, but I'm talking, okay, now we've got some, okay. I did go to the building department, tried to get how many homes were, you know, how many actual homes in our tiny little town. How many were built? Well, I know 2 were built near Walgreens, and thank goodness, I'll tell you, those are built, but they're being rentals. So they're not going to have homestead. I'm not saying, I'm not talking badly about that. I'm just saying as far as our income, they're rentals. So they're not going to have homestead, and they're not going to have Save Our Homes. And those are hopefully going to be continued. But those are actually, and I don't go to every subdivision, I haven't seen a lot of construction going on in the town limits, for sure. Placid Lakes is usually the one that gets most of the building, historically. But next year, this is the good news. So we're having a crunch year. I don't agree with going into any kind of funds or reserves because we have gone through a plague. We have gone through some horrific hurricanes. And thank goodness this year we're being spared. But you never know what the future holds, and I think that those are there in case we have something like that. We need those funds in case something happens, because we live in these times, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So anyway, but I do think good news. We have a crunch year. We have a hearing, and even one of the people that was building the distribution center, they're going to final that this year. So they're going to do what CO that this year. That means it'll be on the tax roll January 1st, which means next year we'll see the benefit of that. I don't know how much more taxes that's going to bring in. But then those 2 homes, maybe other construction, those are CO this year, which means next year we'll get taxes on those homes. So I see we're getting somewhere ahead for next year, but I don't know. I'm trying to be open-minded in that, but I think that Lake Placid people, I love us because we're such an eccentric group of people. We just work so good together because we all have our own eccentric behaviors. Anyway, but we are generally conservative. I think that basically our community is conservative, and I am too. So, that's just my thoughts.
As the mayor said earlier, that when we attended the Florida League of Cities conference, Vice Mayor Worley and also Councilwoman Hayes, and we received a lot of education. Lake Placid, there was a comment made that we're basically the bedroom community. And so we have stayed over in our own little bubble, honestly. We have not had representation there in 24 years. And so I think that speaks to we're a little behind on some of the things that we need to know. But they did not have a packet ready for us, but I had one for Avon Park, and I'll be happy to email it out to anybody who would like to see it. We wanted to get an informational packet immediately. And they are addressing this, and I would tell anybody who's here, we plan to discuss it and have it readily available in our September meeting. As the mayor said, we didn't have ours, and they have a whole team of analysts, and we were trying to pull it off. But some of the things is the Live Local really needs to be looked at highly. The Local Voices United, and the Florida Formula. The Florida Formula is huge because our council that previously sat in these seats did exactly what had been outlined across the state of Florida to do. So it's nothing against our previous council. We have to say that. But in some of the conversations, one of the things and we wanted to provide a full picture. But I do have a number where they said for Homestead and the Save Our Homes education, almost 40% of value in the town of Lake Placid is untaxed. So when you think about that, it's untaxed. Those are people who are not paying into this that we're advocating for. And that hurts a small town of Lake Placid in order for us to be able to properly provide the services that the residents of this town deserve. They are hard decisions and choices to be made. I think the staff will continue to unfold this picture and we'll be able to see that it is a very tight budget. And the reserves that we're talking about, they are not there in surplus. And I would have to agree that God absolutely spared us from this last year. We were like a bubble because there was hurricanes, and not just hurricanes, but tornadoes that ripped through here and started in Okeechobee and traveled all the way over here to Lake Placid. And so we all know that we cannot predict Mother Nature. And FEMA is not coming to the aid, which means we now have a regional utility that this town and this council is responsible for. So those reserves may be there, but if something happens, we now have to pick it up and make sure that utility is running. And as Mr. Warner will continue when we see, we don't have money in that account. So I would say can we let the staff continue?
I would say if you're looking to save money somewhere, multiple years we've had parking at the ball field or just in Lake June Park in general on some type of project we have going, and it's always pushed aside. So the little pavilions, they've not been repaired because every time there's a parking that comes up, the parking is where the pavilions are. So those haven't been repaired, and something needs to be done with the parking down there. So if you're looking to save money, I would suggest not rebuilding those pavilions until you figure out what you're going to do with parking, and that'll save you $42,900 right there.
Oh, I think those pavilions get used a lot.
They get used a lot,
they-
but
and
if
they
you're
look-
going to put
yeah,
parking in and it's going to go where the pavilions are, then you're just going to be tearing them down later.
I'm sorry?
So all the parking plans that have been made in the past, they're right where the pavilions are, is where parking was going to be. So they haven't been repaired or replaced because when those plans come out, they're always right where the pavilions are. So it doesn't make sense to me if we're going to put pavement and parking down there at some point to rebuild them until you know where they're going to go, instead of just rebuilding them in place right now and then having to move them or take them down or in the future. But every time parking comes up, it gets pushed back. So I'm just saying, I don't know.
And I agree, only because of my personal, what I'd like to see. In our original plan, which the master plan's very old, but that was all grass. The parking was not down there. And I like no pavement down by the lake. I'd like to see more grass down by the lake. And that was the original plan. And if I wouldn't see, I agree, maybe we should wait, not spend more money on that, although they are used quite a bit.
Just so
right
you know,
now.
there will be two that have to come down if we wait, because one of them's sinking in the ground and the other one's rotten.
Yeah, we've talked about taking that one down because it really needs to come down, now whether we build it back or not. So that's an area we could look at. And then when we get our master plan, we could figure out what to do there. I do agree with that. But I would like to go back to the original plan where we have all the grass down there and not all that pavement or rock or gravel or pavement. I'd like to see all that down there, grass, up to the road, and the parking was up farther past that that big pavilion. It was where the green grass is now. That's kind of where the parking was at. And then all of that was green down to the lake, and I like that idea, at least as much as we can do. Just my personal opinion, nobody else's.
Was that the
Worley.
1987 plan, Debra? The 1987 plan you keep referring to? Kevin had produced like a park plan from 1987 that showed volleyball and handball.
That was a plan from 2006. The one I found from Chastain Skillman,
Okay.
from 2006.
So that's the one you're referring to?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I
And
think
it
that's
did have,
different
that
than
was green
progress.
grass down there.
Councilmember Worley, so the new design for the pickleball courts, that parking that you're seeing, and it's probably not going to end up being all that parking, that is grass parking, that is not pavement. So there will not be pavement parking there. It's grass reinforced grass parking.
And I was very happy about that because I was driving around and I went up to Max Long Field, and you would think, oh, you can't do that because it's going to look bad and you're going to get stuck. There's very little paid parking up there at that main facility. They just put the bumpers up so people know how to park, and then they have grass, and then you don't have to put in the retention, and you don't have to have the repair on the roads. I mean, I'm sure there's some maintenance, well, there's maintenance for mowing, and I'm sure there's some maintenance where things need to be repaired, but I'm just saying, I love the idea of grass.
So is there a conclusion to take out the pavilions, or where do we stand?
That's y'all's decision.
I like the pavilion. They're used. I mean, I agree they're shabby and they're dangerous. And I know for over a year we said, look, they've got to get repaired, but they get used. Even in the condition they are, they get used. So I hate to see takeaways, right, of things that are there. And the same thing with the playground. We've downsized it. It had the climbing net. It had the sandbox. It had different things. The inspection report said maybe it wasn't the worst of the others, but there's things in it needed to be removed. That's why I'd like to see
The
us put some...
sandbox was not part of the playground. That was just something we put in.
Yeah. But the playground structure keeps getting smaller and smaller with no discussion or plan to replace any of it. I don't know, what's the rest of the council think about putting money back in or putting money in for playground at Lake June Park?
I've talked to some parents that they're used during the ball games, and that's where the children like to go and play. I'm telling you again, that area is a county area. You have to decide whether you want to spend money that is going to be used for the people in the town, or you want to go ahead and spend extra money. I'd rather see local playgrounds like we're doing. I'd like to see the money put into our children that are in town and not trying to, I'm not saying don't do it. I think it's adequate for as much as they're used. They're used mostly when they're having the ball games and things like that because people are there, again, from out of town. So they're not in the town limits. And how much money do you want to spend to host the fields? I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that I think that as much as they're used, I think they're adequate for right now until we can figure out what to do until next year. I just think this isn't the year to do that.
I agree. I think they're adequate for what they're being used right now. And as you know, I'm not against it either, but not now. I think the other parks, like Taylor Park, might be better to be focused because that seems to get more local traffic than Lake June Park. Lake June is, as you said, is more open to the entire county.
Now that I go back to the sand machine, and I'm just telling you, if we're going to have something, we do have to take care of it. I think that, we do need to do that. Now, if we need to charge more money to do that, but I think that we have a quality. I think Lake Placid shines. I know everybody tells me when I go anywhere, to any of these meetings and everything, that we shine. We do a good job at what we have. So I think if we need to do something to keep those fields up, then we need to do it and we need to charge for it, if that's the offset, and keep shining.
So no changes for cultural services? No changes? Okay. So we're going to horticulture. And this is another one, a Harry department. He does have a new employee that's going to be split between cultural service and horticulture to help out with some of that groundwork. And This budget also look like it's pretty much kind of bare bones. Not much going on here besides a couple items for the new employee and the salaries.
I didn't ask for anything on this, so everything's the same as it was.
Okay.
No equipment was asked for.
Is this the one we've added ahead, though, for you, for horticulture? Because horticulture is maintenance of the downtown area, too, right?
Yes.
So it's the government, it's everything but Lake June Park for maintenance. So we added headcount, right, Harry, to you?
So
Was it one or
my horticulture
two?
employees can be moved to Lake June Park to help out. They can, it's one department with two different GLs, so,
And we've increased your headcount for the budget, right?
correct.
Which we should. Is one headcount enough?
We actually have two in there.
That's what I was asking. So we've increased your headcount for two.
This year, that works for this year. And then I can evaluate and see if I need somebody else for the following year.
But this budget includes an increase of two headcount.
Correct. Yes.
And is it in the horticultural section or the culture section, or one in each, or?
Both. He got a percentage. I think he got.
I split it between both.
Okay.
When they sign their new hire agreement or whatever, it states in there that they can be moved from either or, so I split it between them both.
Any question with horticulture? No? Okay. So we're going to move forward to CRA expenses?
Alan's next.
Alan's going to go next. Rachel?
Oh, wait, I can go down to, are we going to the sanitation?
Yeah, we'll go on, let Harry do, or Alan do sanitation now.
I'm going to pull up, he has a PowerPoint. I'll pull up Rachel.
Did you say that we were going to ask for any questions after each section, or we're going to wait until the end?
No, let's go ahead and do that. Are there any questions from the audience as far as the horticulture? Okay, come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Jack Comley, 607 Sunset Point Drive. I have a question about the lights at the ball field as far as the operating hours of them. How or who do they get turned on by, and how or who do they get turned off by?
The leagues turn them on when they need them and shut them off at the end of their night.
Okay, because I notice, I live in Lake June Point, so looking across the fields there, I can see the lights, and it seems like there's, I guess, is each field controlled individually?
Individually, yes.
Okay. It seems like some nights in the summertime, the, 3, 4 fields are lit up and only one field is being used. I didn't know if there was any way to control that a little bit better, maybe
So
to...
what happens is they'll have a game on one field and they'll be practicing on another field. They may only have a couple people on there, but that's what they generally are doing.
So they're using all 4 fields, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
And most of the time they're done by 9:30, 10 o'clock, I think.
I say 9:30, 10 o'clock is when I see them.
Okay, any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll go to Alan and sanitation fees.
I'm not sure who's in control of it. Rachel, could you pull up the PowerPoint unless they have questions regarding the GL accounts?
I have the PowerPoint, I'll pull it up.
Alan Kiefer, Public Works Director. I wanted to present to you a rate increase for the non-ad valorem sanitation collection to go from the current...
Can't understand him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alan,
So-
touch it and see. I almost feel like it's real light.
Is there another one?
Leanne, is there a way to turn him up at all, or no? There we go. he's changing it out, Leanne.
Is this any better? Oh, way better, I can hear
Much
it.
better.
So I wanted to recommend increasing the annual residential sanitation rate from $250 to $290 per household. This adjustment represents roughly a 16% increase, but will support the continuation of our sanitation services, which includes, as everyone knows, two weekly garbage collection pickups, weekly bulk item collection, weekly yard waste pickup, and occasional collection of tires. I wanted to break it down a little bit and make it more transparent. So there's, with 2 pickups, it equates to 104 pickups per year. And then, so that's the current breakdown on the left-hand side that shows what that is if it's per pickup, per week, per month, and what the proposed increase would go to. The next slide kind of shows a very quick breakdown of from 250 to 290. It would be an increase of 39 cents per individual pickup, 77 cents more per week, $3.33 per month, and then the overall, the $40 increase per year, which would become the 290 instead of the 250. Those numbers aren't exact. I just didn't want to put a whole string of decimal points to kind of make it as simple as possible. Let's see. So this represents approximately 0.64% of the average household income in Lake Placid. The current rate is 0.55%. It's just an increase of 0.09%, and feedback from recent town council meeting indicated support for this increase as long as it's tied to maintaining these levels of service. So I also wanted to show that we have attempted to take cost-saving measures, like implementing the automated truck. I have a breakdown. It may be hard to see from where depending on where you're sitting, but it shows that we went from using 3 employees twice a week to do each pickup down to just the single employee. So that alone saves us $24,960 annually just by going automated. There are occasions if the automated truck goes in for maintenance, if it breaks down for any reason, we would have to resort back to the old rear loader with the can tippers on the back. Most recently, we had to do that when there was a holiday. People weren't aware that we weren't coming out. I believe it was right before the 4th of July. So when we came to do the residential route the following Tuesday, it was more than the automated truck could handle due to the increased load. So we did have to split the route, allow that driver to go and empty at the landfill, and then continue on with the rear load truck. I say that to basically also infer that we cannot save money by reducing the amount of pickups, going down to 1 pickup per week. That would just, overload us the following pickup day. So that would, it's diminished savings. It would really not benefit us trying something like that. So there's other alternatives that we've considered, like efficiency measures. We've implemented GPS routing to saving approximately 10% on fuel and increased vehicle maintenance, but that's also diminishing returns. Fuel has increased, I believe, I have that paper here, I believe 13% since 2021, which added $17,000 annually based on our fleet of 7 collection vehicles operating 5 days a week.
Could you leave that slide up? It keeps flipping back. The next
Do you want it
slide
on
after
this
one?
slide or the next one, Alan?
Oh,
Go-
I'm
go
sorry.
one
You
more
could,
slide,
you
Alan.
could,
Go to the next slide.
I don't see it. Oh, there it goes.
No,
I don't
Down.
think that's me.
that one. Yep,
Yeah.
leave it.
Sorry, I apologize. My memorandum kind of doesn't follow along exactly with what the slides are. So I should have tailored it a little bit more, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit of more background than what I'm just putting up on the screen. I just wanted the public to be able to see these numbers, so that's the way it's very simple to see. In the past 3 years, you can see our landfill fees have increased significantly. There's also a secondary reason for that, because we had, prior years, we had split the amount of garbage we were taking to Highlands County. A certain portion we would bring to Okeechobee County. Their tipping fees are only $25. I don't know if they've gone up since then, but they were $25 at the time, compared to our county charging $45 per ton. So even with the drive time, the fuel, the man hours, and as long as we brought more than 10 tons on the truck, it made the trip worth it, and ultimately we were saving a lot of money. The downside was every rainy season, they don't maintain their roadways as well in Okeechobee. So it basically turns into almost 2 feet of mud, and everything that's underground starts puncturing our tires. So it became to where now it's costing us $500 to empty the garbage all the time, which would happen almost weekly, bi-weekly, at least twice a month. So it was costing us a little bit of money, even though ultimately it would break even. But then we ran into issues with just some of the older trucks. They have to stop to do it's related to the DEF fluid. What do they call that? Regen cycle. So it basically has to burn out all the soot that's in the exhaust system. And it would cost us time. They'd be sitting on the side of the road hoping not to catch the grass on fire, because there's not a lot of places to pull off on the way to Okeechobee. Occasionally, if truck did break down at all, it's almost $1,700 to have somebody that is capable of towing a truck that size. They'd be towing it back to us. Then we'd have to decide who to take it to, because every mechanic shop seems to be a specialist. So then we have to decide where to take it to. They would put it on their computer and potentially have to tow it to another place if they didn't take it. So for that reason, we kind of stopped going there for a while. But I do believe that we should perhaps start going what I had done prior years, where it was maybe in the 150, 160 range you see there. I stopped going every time rainy season hit. So we would go there a large portion of the year, or if it hadn't rained in a while. At the time, I didn't realize how much it was really costing us by staying in town. So unless we can strike an agreement with Highlands County potentially to lower their tipping fees, this is one cost-saving measure that we're looking at going into. And the numbers you see there for 2025, that's just up until current. We still have another month to go. Vehicle maintenance, that's you could take a look at what we spend it on. It is next to nothing as far as oil changes and grease and everything else. I say next to nothing because of what these trucks cost, but it's $2,000 to $3,000 a month generally. But all it takes is 3 or 4 large breakdowns or something that has, like we had that first year of 85,000. There was we had a PTO issues so that means the whole transmission has to be dropped out in order just to reach the gearing into the PTO. So these things are not things that are part of routine maintenance. Those are just unforeseeable outcomes. Occasional something happening to the large cylinders. They have to go to special places to rebuild them. Not everybody can do the 3-stage cylinders and things like that. So I just basically just wanted to show that these are where a lot of the cost is going to. Other than, I don't know if I have a slide for that, but also being shorthanded has led to some of the increase this current year. We are finally fully staffed. We were short for a foreman for a while, and a driver at one time, and just a general employee. So that's also the reason a lot is being diverted to payroll at this time. Also, what that shows is the vegetative debris that we take to EPI. For as far back as I can remember, they used to charge $60 per load regardless of how much was in the truck, but we tend to not take it unless the truck is full. Just this past May, I believe, they increased that to $80 per load. So what used to cost us, we take on average, I would say 180, 190 trips per year of full truckloads of this vegetative debris from around town. We're looking at probably closer to 14, possibly 15, upwards of 15,000 at that current increase for, just for disposal, which also might have to affect some of the agreements we have with certain communities around town that also pay for community piles as opposed to being picked up door to door. There's some areas that prefer community dump sites. So we'll probably have to go back and revisit that and kind of look at our numbers and track how much we're really pulling out of there and kind of get a fair number going. You could probably move on. This is just a list of our vehicles. So the top two, I just put them in there because as far as I know, that 1994 was probably the first first garbage truck the town ever owned. I believe years prior to that, you had to kind of take it to yourself to the transfer station. So we've been serving the town for I would say over 31 years, but that truck was in service for nearly that full 25 years. I mean, a lot of breakdowns, but it would pull us out of a jam more often than not. That old truck without the electronics would keep going. When I started, obviously we still already had that 2001, but we just got rid of that last year. So just the next one down, the 2006 Sterling, that one has been around for 19 years. That's just sitting in our yard. I just haven't had it removed from inventory yet, but that'll be coming at probably an upcoming council meeting. I'll have to have that removed from inventory and sent to auction. The problem is we sit on these trucks a lot of times so long that we don't get anything out of them for auction. They're basically just worth their weight in scrap. If we got rid of them a little bit sooner, because the average lifespan of these trucks is estimated at 10 to 15 years, hard use potentially as low as 7 years. So our fleet is kind of getting up in age a little bit. We have some newer trucks that are saving us, but of course the newer trucks means newer electronics and more electronic issues. So, but that 2014 Mac, that one is still running strong, but that's the one that the extra money is in there for part repair and maintenance, because the body of that on the inside where the packer slide runs is see-through on both sides. We've had to do everything we can to try and mend it. It needs to be sent to a professional welder that can go upwards of half-inch steel, and kind of, we need to have it professionally looked at and see what it's really going to cost. I put some extra money in there, hoping we can cover it, and if not, then we will continue doing what we can in-house. The brush trucks, that's another one that's just sitting in the yard. It just won't start anymore. After 25 years, we've gotten our money's worth out of that one for sure. But that 2009, it's running currently, but it's always good to have a backup. But that one's beyond its lifespan as it is already. So I mean, when I'm asking for increase, this is not to try and pull money. We are still going backwards and just trying to get by and break even. So this is just part of a multifaceted step that we're going to be taking. So we're going to have to probably go up in commercial as well to really cover some of these expenses that we're just going backwards year to year. Even this year alone, we started negative 25,000 in the budget. So I mean, and it's just increased since then. So that's all my slides. If you have any questions for me, feel free.
So, first off, I appreciate very much you and your team. We look forward to seeing them twice a week, and appreciate the work you do. Just clarify, is it going up $40? Because the packet says 20, and it looks like the budget sheet is 50. So what's the proposal for the increase? I mean, what's the amount that we're...
It is, we are currently at 290. The packet that was sent out, I didn't catch it. It was sent out at 270. It was supposed to say 290. It was just an error.
So we're
So
currently
it's increasing by 40.
So we're at 250, I thought we were at 240 right now. We're at 250?
Yes,
250 for residential.
yes.
Okay, and then you're going to go up 40. But Rachel, on this sheet, it says 50.
It's a typo error. It's an error.
Which is,
That's what he was just saying. It's.
but
it
on
was
the
an error.
spreadsheet, it says 50. Is it 343-401 line item? Garbage, solid waste, residential? Oh, it says 290. Okay, there's the 40. So you want to go up to 290.
Yes. So one thing I forgot to mention was that we expect to collect roughly $160,000 per year in this. The problem is people have 3 years to pay their taxes. So in prior years, we've gone uncollected of $12,000, uncollected of $28,000, uncollected of $57,000. So the issue is we're basing our budget on what we expect to bring in, and there are times where we don't bring in anywhere near what we expect to bring in.
So is this increase just going to allow you to break even? Because don't we have concerns that the reserve is in a, am I reading this other sheet right, that the
So this-
sanitation reserve is in the hole? And it should be,
Right, so this alone is not going to even allow us to break even. It may cover residential, which is what it's supposed to do, but the commercial is going to be a separate animal where I'll have to give a whole different rate structure and propose increases to try to get this out of this year over year. That's a lot of the money lost. It is just from the sheer amount of landfill fees and increase in just
So-
overall businesses.
so general operating,
Yeah.
and I guess, in Charlotte, not to be resolved here, but we're going to need to have a plan. If I'm reading this reserve, you know, Rachel, I'm looking at you too. The sanitation reserve right now is 175,000 negative.
So the 290 is basically just to balance this budget this year. Alan is looking at operation item that could kind of save money, or if it's not saving money, it's sort of like, how could you make the operation more efficient? So he is looking at the commercial rates coming to the next budget year, so.
And that'll help with the reserve.
That's correct.
But again, am I reading this reserve balance sheet of
That is
yours
correct.
correctly, that the sanitation reserve is negative 175,000, but the reserve fund, per our policy, should be 182?
That is correct,
So we're 317,000 under reserved in sanitation?
yes.
That seems to be a huge problem. And I don't think $40 is going to cover it. So, you know, I guess a takeaway for another meeting is, you know, and even on some of these other reserves, what is our plan over
I
time?
believe, unless Rachel has fixed it since then, but I believe that the deficit is not as large as it seemed because residential was sitting in the bank and hadn't been transferred to the sanitation reserve account yet, if I understood that correctly.
What was?
It was still accounted for.
It was still accounted for?
Yes.
Okay. The,
Okay, so,
the non-ad valorem assessment, I wasn't able to see it in the ADG system. It wasn't in there. And then we just went over that the other day.
and then the critical of this and the timing is because this goes on the tax bill,
Correct.
right? And I guess a question to the town administrator, and it may be to the attorney too, can we do it this way? Because typically for sanitation, I know wastewater and water, you have to have public hearings, you know, and even some of the things I said, notes go out to people ahead of time, you know, there's communication, so I know there's certain rules on these utilities in order to increase them.
Prior council allowed us to go up to 300 without coming back.
Say that again?
Prior council put a cap at 300 that we could increase up to without having to, I'm not sure if it was advertised or come back to.
As long as that's Florida statute. I mean, that's why I make sure that the town attorney agrees with that.
I do.
Yeah.
I will say that one thing people really don't seem to mind paying for is to have their garbage gone and to have good service. I've had people that have pretty expensive properties, and they're on the verge of annexing in because of the garbage. They're in the county and they don't like it. So we are doing very well with our garbage as far as, because I had somebody say, well, why don't you just pick up once a week? Well, you might as well go in for a lynch mound because people love the garbage pickup and what we're doing there.
So the sanitation budget pretty much stayed about the same. It's not a big significant amount that it increased. Again, this is one of the budgets that is an enterprise, so it doesn't relates to the general fund, but it was a pretty tight budget as well. And I think he added, let me see if he added a person. No, he didn't add no additional staff.
Councilwoman Charles, we did at the Florida League of Cities, there were so many vendors, I can't even tell you how many, but we did stop at several who had sanitation so that we could pick their brains and find out what best practices they have put in place. And Alan started working with one of them. However, once he looked at it, it doesn't look like that's going to pan out. It would actually cost us more. So we are exploring additional opportunities to see what we can do.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree at all. It should be increased. You know, my concern is, it's a bigger concern, right, is we're required to have a certain fund balance, and this increase isn't going to allow that. So that's, again, a discussion for another day of over 300,000 deficit reserve that's required. So, I mean, but as long as this increase is adequate for your current operations, I don't want that reserve to go deeper in the hole, right?
Right. So, yeah, even last year, we actually came out 40,000 ahead, but with the rollover debt from prior years, it just, we thought it was going to continue that trend, and just literally just hiring a few extra, not extra, just filling positions that were vacant for so long kind of also is what contributed to it.
Any more question with the sanitation department?
I'm sorry?
Any question with
That's
sanitation?
I'm waiting to see up here, everybody here done?
There's one in the audience.
I know, I was waiting for, I wanted to get done up here first. Okay? All right, since we're done up here, I'll now open it to the audience. Again, state your name, address for the record.
Charlie Wilson, 763 Sunset Point Drive, Lake Placid. This has always been a struggle, and I agree with you on that. Currently, you're not budgeting depreciation on those vehicles, are you?
No.
And you need to start, we need to get to that point where you're depreciating those vehicles over 10, 12 years in addition to the maintenance costs. And as an owner of a lot of these big trucks, the Nextran, their hourly rates are now pushing $200 an hour. And with the new DEF and the regens and everything else, you have no choice but to take it to them. Everything is so electronic now. It's great when it works, but when it doesn't, it's not good. And that is a struggle that in the past councils have dealt with, and we've kind of, one of those trucks was a grant, as you well know, but can anyone tell me what the county's, I don't even know what the county's paying because I don't have any for residential.
$214,
Yeah.
once a
well,
week.
Yeah, for several reasons, I think twice a week is so much better. Cleanliness, hygiene. I've seen some of these cans in the county, and they're pretty ripe this time of year, sitting out there for a long period of time. But I think this is, we excel in the county in this department, and I mean, we've got a really good staff that takes care of this, but that's something that we're gonna, and we've addressed the same thing. We kind of keep going up in baby chunks and inflation and fuel, by the way, though, is basically flat over year to date right now. But since 21, it has gone up exponentially. So I think that's something that needs to be considered in the future, and just figuring out what your life is, and you're going to have to factor that in as you go and set your rates accordingly, using that as part of the equation, so you don't end up in the boat that it's always been in. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I go back to the playgrounds? Is that okay? I didn't get up in time.
We're only asking questions to Alan on this right now.
Okay, will there be a section where I can come up and
No,
ask my question?
I'll give the audience will have an opportunity to talk at the end. For right now, we just want to get through the
Okay,
budget.
that's fine, thank
So
you.
she had raised her hand after the Harry's area, and you didn't see her to call on her. Yes.
Yeah, she probably could have come up then, but,
I had a bunch of papers on my lap, and I couldn't get them off my lap, so I raised
I'm
my
sorry,
hand.
we can't hear you.
I had a bunch of papers on my lap, and I raised my hand, and I couldn't get up in time, and you started on the next item.
All right, well, you're here. Go ahead. What do you got?
Okay, my name is Rosemary Heath, and I live at 588 Sunset Point Drive. I want to go back to the playgrounds. They're used every day. Parents bring their children after school. They don't stay long. They might stay 10, 15 minutes, but they bring them. And on the weekends, those pavilions have 3 periods of groups that come. In the morning, in the afternoon, and the evening. I had to speak in Spanish in order to get them to sign my petition, and they all live all around the area, not very far. They don't have vehicles that can drive 5, 10 minutes away. They come in groups, some walk, and they use your pavilions every weekend, and in 3 groups. I used to go there in the morning, in the afternoon, and the evening to get those signatures. And then you have the coaches that coach in the evening. They have at least 35 children 2 and 3 times a week that come. And with those children come siblings that play soccer all around. So not only do you have the children using the green space to play football, but you have a bunch of siblings, maybe 20, 25 of them just running around playing soccer or just running around. And my other question is that There's a new design for the pickleball courts. This is part of the playground because they're taking away green space. When we were here the last time, we talked about option 1 and option 2. And all of them had some green space. However, now you're talking about most of the grass being taken away and replaced by gravel. So you have the pickleball courts on one side that go to the fence, and then you have gravel, a retention pond on the other end going to the street. There's only a little space behind the playgrounds now, with the pavilion now, the large pavilion, where the children can play. There's nothing they can really do there. They can't play soccer. They definitely can't play t-ball. And it's even difficult for them to run around. You can't have that many children running around in that small amount of space. And you're taking at least, well now, $227,000 out of the taxpayers to pay for the pickleball courts. And you're not going to take care of the playground? I don't understand. And I don't understand who approve these new pickleball plans. I mean, did you all approve this? Did you have a meeting? Did the public come? Did I miss something? Did you approve this, Miss Worley? Or Miss Charles?
Okay. But to answer your question, this was done probably 3 years ago,
Yes, at least.
at least.
But there's a new plan now.
The plan.
What?
There's a whole brand new design now.
No, it's exactly the same.
Can I say?
It's,
Yeah.
Miss Rosemary, you requested that the same exact day that we received it. And so, based on public record, we had to provide it to you. We've not had a time to even bring it to council because we haven't come back to our council meeting. So what's happening is you and Marlene Barger and other people in the community ask us for it, and then you're all asking the same time before we even have an opportunity to bring it to council to even discuss it. That's literally what happens. And so for transparency purposes, I have to say that because we report it to council, and then after we report it to council, we're getting phone calls from you, we're getting phone calls from Marlene Barger or whoever else is asking for it, and then they're coming up here and staff have to stop, we have to provide it to you, but we don't have an opportunity to even educate our council on it yet. So no, we haven't discussed it because you jumped ahead of the gun and we haven't been able to do that yet.
Perhaps the confusion is, tonight's meeting is to look at the budget. The regular town council meeting would be the place to address the pickleball layout.
but the pickleball is in the town budget.
The numbers are in the budget, but the nitty-gritty of the layout would be for a town council meeting. This is a budget workshop.
Okay, and also the playgrounds. Was supposed to be in the budget. It's not in the budget anymore. Charlotte, there's no budget for the playgrounds this year?
No, ma'am, what we're looking for is we're looking for grants to be able to do that. We are able to provide playgrounds in the CRA district, but at this moment, we do not have any money that we can secure to Lake June Park unless this council votes for that, and we will do what council votes for.
And there is money in the CRA budget for parks in that downtown district.
But not on Lake June Point. That's where I spoke to all the families and all the children, all the residences, people that were residents. That's where I got all my signatures. And we're going to just ignore them? I just don't understand. I mean, this is a need. That playground had 4 different pieces of equipment on it. It's down to 1. And they fixed it last year, but it's starting to rust all over again. The children are going to get hurt because the rust is sharp.
Okay. All right.
All those rusted areas have been taken care of with new stuff. They're not rusted. And the other rusted areas that you see as surface rust, and the inspector said that is a minimal, there's nothing that's going to affect.
But it keeps getting worse. Every time I go down, it's a little bit more. When all this rain is making it. the rust come,
The sharp rusted pieces are replaced with rubber coated stuff. There's no way those are rusted out yet.
okay, I see rust. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we'll now move on to utilities.
Bert, I'm gonna turn this over to you.
What's that?
I'm gonna turn it over to you.
So basically, we kept the budget flat to last year. I think we only asked for money for a new truck. I can't remember if that was water or wastewater. I believe it was water. We reduced, no, everything was flat. That's the only thing I asked for was money for a new truck. It was $35,000. So they remained the same as last year's.
I don't see anything for hydrant repair.
It's under operations, it's under, I believe, hydrant repairs right there. The utility budget has no money in it. It's at a very minimum. To have your hydrant repairs done, we repair them through the distribution side of it as needed. Hydrant usually runs about $7,000 to install it. So anytime we have an incident where a vehicle hits it or goes out of service, we would take it out of the distribution GL line.
Okay, I'm confused because I thought the rural water report said there were some that needed to be addressed.
So there's quite a few that need to be addressed, but you don't have the money in the utility budget or the reserves. You're at a minimum right now, Rachel, was that around 300,000 per reserve, water and wastewater? You get one bad storm here, you're going to wipe out your reserves.
Yeah.
You lose a water tower in town, or something happens in Highway Park or Tomoka, you don't have the funds to repair it.
And I just mentioned that to point out how lean this budget is.
Yes. See, hydrants should be tested and flowed every year per DEP. They haven't been done here. I can't find any records of it. I think the last painting of them was in 2009. When I was in my last position, I had a contractor come in and do it, and that was probably around $40,000 to do every hydrant. So this budget, like I said, that's why we kept it flat. I think we had to go into reserves for the wastewater side to balance it out for last year. That's why we're going for the rate increase. That's not going to make us flush, but it's going to get us in the right direction. Like I said, when you guys took on the local regional utility, I don't know if you guys really realized what you were getting into as budget-wise, and capital projects and everything else. So working with Florida Water, we did that water rate study, which is going to be presented to you, I think, next month. They're suggesting a 22% for water and a 5% for wastewater. And that's, the package would be presented to you is basically what I gave you earlier this year. But it's not going to make you flush. The funds, you are down on your funds in reserves. You should have at least, I think it's 3 months or 90 days for operations. You're not even close to it. So, basically this budget here is putting Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids and keeping everything going.
So, and once again, I'm just saying this so that everybody realizes we're as tight as we can get.
You're as tight as you can get, but you're less. You're underwater. You're treading, not even treading water. You're starting to sink. Like I said, with the rate request coming up, that will help. And then moving on, going down with suggestions down later on down the road. you have a very good chance of having a viable utility. It's just, you can't, you're gonna have to kind of rip off that Band-Aid and, put it on to the utility customers. At least with the utility, it goes on, the regional utility is not just the town residents. At least you can spread it out over the utility to help to pick up slack for that. So, like I said, this budget, it's basically the same as last year, except for, I believe, that vehicle.
If I could just interject, in the Florida Rural Water Association packet that is on the dais, Mr. Warner had us tab page 2 and also page 15, because that gives you a snapshot view of what it looks like with the base charge, the usage charge, the drinking water total, and then goes into the wastewater portion as well, so that you can see what the actual dollar amount would be. Instead of it being a percentage, it helps to put it in real terms. And this will, as he stated, will be presented at our September Town Council meeting, and it will be open for the public, but we wanted you to be able to view it for budget purposes.
And that's the number you use for budget purposes, correct? Yes.
Yeah, so if we got
So,
the ideas to look at.
Councilwoman Eberhardt, on what you just talked about for the reserve,
Okay.
it's equally as bad, if not worse, than sanitation. So correct me if I'm wrong, I'm looking at Rachel's sheets and I'm looking at how you're already, underwater, but it looks like the wastewater fund is under-reserved $570,000. We should have $603,000 in there,
I believe so, yeah. You're
and we have $32,000.
supposed to have 90 days.
That's unacceptable. I mean, this is very concerning to me, I would think to others, and then so that was wastewater, and then the water is under reserve $296,000. Am
That's
I
correct.
reading that right?
Yes,
We have $569,000, $398,000, and we should have $695 according to our policies. How did we get this bad?
because
I mean, we're talking over $1 million in
Yes.
3 funds that we were required to have reserves.
proper rates haven't been imposed.
When's the last time the water rates were increased?
I believe Kevin did that, but I'm not sure what year it was. But
Yeah, because we have to do a study every so often.
right, but at that time, the council approved a higher rate, and he only implemented part of it. So
Say that again?
the council approved a higher rate, but he only implemented, half of it or just over half? Like, I think it was it 24% was approved, and it was only 14% that was implemented.
How does that work?
I wasn't here, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Like I said, so,
Because that adds to this deficit, right?
oh, absolutely. So, and then, Florida Rural Water did a total, looked at all our assets, conditions, and everything else, and this is where they come up with that 22%
Sure.
for the water and the 5% for wastewater. And that should bring you up, there's a charts in there, it shows you should be getting close to your 90-day surplus. But why you didn't implement the full approval of the 20, whatever it was, 23% or 22% or whatever last, I don't know why.
I can speak to that. The explanation I received was that the intent was for it to be the lower amount, and that it was passed by council at the higher amount. And therefore, because the intent originally, and I am speaking third party here because I was not here, it was
Right.
not under my leadership. I can only go based off of what staff had advised. And so it lowered it, and I apologize, up until right before he walked in here, I have been with people constantly, all day. So, Eva, did we not pull that so that we could show that to them?
I did print it, it's sitting on my desk, I'm gonna go get it. 'cause I
Yes,
forgot
we
to
need
bring
that,
it.
absolutely, I'm sorry, but we need that so that council can see and really discuss this conversation. So in the packet, you'll see the red strike through. And so I could see where she's going to bring it. And you'll be able to see where that was his intent, was for it to be the lower amount, because he didn't want to put that on everybody at one time. Council did vote for it to be a higher amount, and we would have more money in there, and I can't think of the number off the top of my head. Do you remember the number? I think it was 186,000
More,
that we would have collected.
which would help towards this negative
Correct,
reserve.
right.
But he didn't come back to council to say, I decided to go with a different number than you approved?
No, he did not.
And we have no internal control checks that when something's approved by council, that's the amount that's put in?
He was the town administrator. And so
I
he should have brought that
understand
back
that.
to you guys.
But when it comes to the finance department to input the new rates in the billing system, that didn't happen?
So another part of this conversation should be some of the other projects that happen within the water fund. So one more specific is a pipe bursting project that was kind of, that went way over budget, like $468,000 over budget than what was actually originally stated that the project was going to cost. So it did go over.
Which project, Rachel?
The pipe bursting, so if you look on
Yeah,
that
the
one.
pipe bursting's what, 700,000? I thought that's what we spent. That was a grant. Was that a CDBG
Right.
elemental P grant?
So it's supposed to have been the 700,
Okay.
but the project itself went way over 700.
How much is it? The actual was over?
The project, yes. It was like 460, I have to,
So it was like $1 million, $1 million, $2 million.
So a $700,000 grant, the town council approved, the actual was 1.1, 1.2 million. And did that come back to council on a budget amendment, and where's it going to come from?
no,
Where did we fund it from?
out of the water account,
Out of what?
out of the water account. So the fund,
And that's what drove the water in the hole?
that,
But how does something go in the hole if you don't have money to cover it?
the water account always been a very profitable, well, I'll say profitable, it always had a wiggle room for emergencies and capital projects. But, I mean, that last 2 years, it just went really quick with all the projects that was going on there.
So does it borrow from general fund, or how?
Absolutely not.
I know it can't, but as,
Right,
all
no.
right, well, this is making me dizzy.
Yeah, well, they had the reserves.
Sounds like we've got things that compounded each other all.
Right, but you had enough reserves there to cover that 300,000 or 400,000.
Correct.
But it drained it, and it hasn't been replaced because the water rates have been low, and, you know, the funds aren't building up as they're supposed to.
And so that never came back to council, that we've got a 40% overrun of a project.
I'm gonna let Eva confirm, no?
Isn't that supposed to come back
The
as a
pipe
budget
bursting.
amendment?
I don't know anything about that
Okay.
posting. I wasn't involved in
Did say no.
When did that happen? It was Kevin, right?
Yeah, it was Kevin, it was a couple of years ago, I think it was 23 maybe. There was Joe and Kevin, so 20, right in that area right
23,
there.
24.
I think pipe bursting just happened, didn't it? Is this the
It
pipe
just-
bursting downtown?
It
Yeah.
just
finished-
closed.
It just finished up.
Yeah, yeah.
But, well, it was finished up probably before I got here, I think, so 6 months before I got here. So that must have been last summer, last fall. So it probably started in 23, ended in 24.
Do we have controls in place to prevent these things from happening in the future?
Moving forward, we will, well, I will just follow back up on the budget amendment because he was saying that he was following up with budget amendments and he was making council aware. I wasn't sure what he was making council aware of, whatever. So there process in place. Did we know that he wasn't following up on the process? No.
So Mr. Warner will sign off on it, and myself will sign off on it, and the finance director.
I don't know how this fits into this conversation, but I took on 8, 9 houses and out in Highlands Park Estates, Every one of them needs, just to make the water drinkable, smells like rotten eggs and a lot of it's orange. Okay, just the equipment, if you bought it, it's like $7,000. If you rent the equipment with the chemicals monthly, it's about $165, it's $165 a month just to get good water for that one house. So I think that our people should be very happy with their water bills because that's just, that's what it costs. And of course, they don't have like to pay the actual water bill, but they have some electric, but just to get good water, it's $165.
And then, Bert, we've been jumping back and forth between waste, but since wastewater's up, where you have capital projects of other $475,000, is that contingent projects, or do you have something specific that you have in mind for that?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, sure.
So that is a positive, actually, with the rate increase of 22%. So that is put there to balance the budget, capital projects other. So that would give him a wiggle room on some of the other projects.
So on the revenue side, if we go to the revenue side, you've already got an increase 22%?
Correct.
And then this would be expenses somehow are going to increase?
It'll be a cushion for some unexpected or what have you come up. So he didn't put that in there. That was one of the things I put in there to balance the budget.
So we're putting it in the budget to balance it, anticipating that at a future town council meeting, we'll present this, and then it doesn't have to, same thing as before on legalities, it has to get mailed out, and we have to do like resolutions or something. I think the process on water, sewer, sanitation increases are usually done by the rate studies, by the recommendation, by us. And again, I don't know if it's first and second reading or just a resolution. So that needs to take place, but in the meantime, we're just incorporating into the budget, anticipating that would be, because it's kind of a tricky timing, right?
So it'll still go on the bill, so customer will be notified, and it will be 2 readings. So right now, we need to make sure if council is going to approve the 22%, so we can go with the advertising and let customers know that the bill will go up.
So then the thinking would be first reading would be the first meeting and second reading would be the second. We've got it incorporated into it and we're done.
Correct.
Right,
Okay.
and the notices has gone on, the water bill's out already, so.
I don't know what choice we have on this, right?
You're in
There's nowhere to go.
No, like I said.
There's no money to draw into.
That's it, and if, like I said, you get one hurricane or a tornado or something that tears something down, you don't have the money to repair it. I had, by my last position, I had 100 foot of 10-inch water main. That was $400,000 to be replaced. You don't have that in the budget. Tower goes down, you're probably looking $500,000 to $1 million to replace it. A tower, in town, the big tanks. Yeah, like I said, you get some large pumps go out. We have some out right now. I think there was $35,000 for 2 new ones, and we have several other ones, so. You have a lot of infrastructure on the ground that people don't see that needs attention, so. People don't see it, they don't think about it until it doesn't work, so.
But this is water is going to be 22%. This
Yeah.
is wastewater, right? What's up on the screen?
And the wastewater was
Is wastewater is going to be
5%, is that what they came? Well, we don't have that many wastewater connections at this time, so the wastewater side is a little smaller than the water connections and maintenance.
But again, a discussion for another day is how do we get our reserves up to the level that they need to be?
That's correct.
That's not an easy discussion. That is it is a critical discussion. I would think that there's probably Florida statutes we might be on the verge of.
Well, look at, they say it's supposed to be 3 months. So,
Yeah.
So Allen's enterprise fund's underfunded, mine's underfunded. No, you have to kind of figure out, come up with a plan to get these more solvent. Because like I said, you never know when Mother Nature hits you.
Yeah.
You just won't have it, and FEMA's not, sure, they'll give you some back, but they're not gonna be there to get it back up and running for the residents, so.
So will that discussion include the hydrants and what's a plan? I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
that made me very nervous to read that so many of our fire hydrants have never been tested, and what you said
Well-
earlier, and a lot you can't even open up.
Well,
And then what about valves underground too, so?
Right, well, see, valves are supposed to be turned once a year. Hydrants are supposed to be tested every 2 years. We do some testing in-house, but small staff, we only probably get maybe 15 or 20 a year, you know what I mean? Then the valves, like I said, you have to have it's a valve operating machine, it's $100,000. Plus you have to have staff to run it, so, you're supposed to test all your valves every year, every other year, so.
I appreciate your experience and knowledge and your courage to bring this forward.
But I just want to let you guys, the staff you have here in the utilities is a dedicated team, and they do their best to do anything, and they're out there middle of the night. You guys probably don't see them. A couple months ago, a car took out a hydrant. They were out there fixing that one. So, like I said, you're real fortunate with the dedicated staff you have, both in public works, facilities, and utilities.
Okay, thank you.
I guess that concludes the water count.
Okay?
Are we just gonna move into the wastewater?
Yeah.
And Bert, I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one as well.
Can't remember what's new in here we put in here.
You pretty much did the same thing, use the
Yep,
same.
like I said, yep, it's based on last year's, it's a flat budget. I don't believe there's any increases on the wastewater side. We have staff, Bobby's retiring, but we're moving people around in-house, so we're not making no new positions. We could use a couple new positions, but right now we're treading water and getting through it. So, like I said, I just wanted to keep it flat until I could see what the rate study number was passed, and then have to work on other ways to get some funding put into the utility fund. So, like I said, I've only been here 6 months, we're a little over, so it's gonna take me a little more time to get the bumps out and see where the deficiencies are, which are quite a bit.
Well, it looks like you're finding the skeletons in the closets, huh?
Yep.
I can say on the wastewater, there's quite a bit of projects that's going on with wastewater. And if you look to the bottom, there is a couple grants here, one for $600,000, one $570,000. So since this been put together, some of this have been already dipped into. So some of the projects have already started, especially the one for the $600,000.
But on those grants, just for your FYI, they should be wrapped up by the end of this year, except for the wastewater plant. So moving forward on grants, we have Lorraine there. Rachel's been helping out there. We're going to have to make sure that the grant's going to cover the project. Not like the 40 million. We had all kinds of projects in there, and that just got messy. So as we move forward, I'd like to see the project be fully funded and separated one by one, just for better housekeeping and transparency. But like I said, by the end of this year, most of those grants should be done for the water and wastewater.
Councilwoman Charles, can I ask a question? When we were talking about the previous fees, we were going at the 22%, but would you support a 30%? I mean, we didn't throw that out there because we didn't want to go any higher, but just a question. You don't have to answer, I'm just throwing that out.
I can answer. I think that's a pretty hefty increase on top of an 18% ad valorem. The school boards, everybody's going up, and And this is a bigger topic than just, oh, we want to increase it. It needs to be incorporated as how we're going to make up the shortfall of the reserve. So this is a serious topic of how we get into this financial condition of this town. And to your point, you know, I've talked about that, right? DOJ has been asking for all kinds of financial information. You know, one was liquidity and things like that. So, I mean, over $1 million in 3 enterprise funds that the reserve is underwater. That's troubling to me. And it's troubling, how did we get there? And then more important, how are we going to get out of it? And I don't think just all of a sudden, with this limited information, pegging the taxpayers in the town, saddling them with paying for it all at once. So I'm willing to get involved with helping
But just
with my
remember-
background, but this is like,
Yeah, but
it's like unacceptable. It should be. It should trouble us all. These are
Yeah.
things that keep
But
you up at
remember,
night, right?
with the water and wastewater, it goes through the local regional. It's not just the town.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
The burden, it's been spread out on the other customers instead of just the town residents.
There needs to be more discussion than just, how about we increase it higher? I mean, this is where the study and all the things, because it's going to be a broader package than just the rate increase, right? It's like, what do we do to fix all the things that we haven't talked about with the fire hydrant and the valves and things like that that haven't been done
Right.
for
But-
how long did you say?
But as far as I know, nothing's been done with the hydrants except what's been done in-house. I think they were painted once back in '08 or something.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may, keep in mind you're talking to the messenger.
I can't hear you.
Keep in mind you're talking to the messengers, not the people that did the action that you're concerned of. And I think clearly you've identified, or they have identified, deficiencies in the reserves as well as maintenance. The question is, you're the one that's got to vote at the end of the day. It sounds like you're saying, as Charlotte was pointing out, you may be willing to support a larger increase to backfill these holes.
I did not say that. I said I do not with the limited information that we have. 22% sounds to be reasonable, but if somebody's saying, well, let's go to 30, there's a bigger discussion that needs to take place. And I am not shooting the messenger, just to let you know. I thanked him, and I appreciate his courage and also Rachel's and their honesty to bring something forward. As town council members, we're responsible for now addressing
That's kind
this.
of my point.
Yeah.
You're now responsible for maintaining
Absolutely.
this hole that you found in the budget. And by not raising it, now it's going to be on you.
There's not enough detailed information to make
Oh,
a
no, I didn't
decision
mean
tonight.
Didn't
Okay.
mean tonight.
No,
But I
we're
think
not
that
bringing
when
this
we come
until
forward, we might-
September. The rate study's coming before.
Yeah, well, and that's why let's get
process-
the information. It's coming to a town meeting for 22%, but as I said, there's a bigger issue here that needs to be talked about.
The process in the utility rate, Chapter 180, requires a different process than you're going through tonight. As Bert said, he will put on the bills a statement, be aware, we're about to bring public hearings to raise the utility rates.
That's already been done.
So those are coming in the next, for a totally separate ordinance outside of this one. And I'm saying that's where we would have the hard discussions, which you may want to exceed the 22% to address the problems you've identified tonight.
I think what I've heard is right now the message is for the 22%.
But you seemed excited that we were leaving things unaddressed.
I'm not excited at all. I'm very disappointed.
Well, you
So-
seemed disappointed that things had not been addressed. So the
Understand,
point
but we
is,
don't have
now's your
enough
chance.
information.
But now's your chance to backfill the issue.
So we don't have enough information. I've asked for, and I was told that the water study is coming forward, and then we'll have the discussions, not just a second increase that's needed in the timing. I'd like to have a comprehensive discussion on what are all the things that need to get done, and then how are we going to resolve those.
That's what we'll do when we bring forward the water budget. I'm sorry, the water rate ordinance.
Yeah, with that, they're going to give a presentation next week.
Yeah,
next
right,
month.
and that's what we said.
And that's-
It's just as
it-
Charlotte had said,
Yeah.
we increase it 30%? And I'm saying, I don't have enough information.
Right.
Maybe it needs to be 100%. Now, my reporter will write that about me, just saying that, so let's not go anywhere. But the point is, we don't know what it should be because we don't have a comprehensive list, or what are the things we need to get done? How are we going to get them done to come into compliance?
But
Well,
based
your
on
pro-
Florida Rural Water's report, I would
Right.
go on their recommendation.
Exactly.
They do this all the time for small communities.
Right, thank
So if
you.
they're saying 22%, we had some issues there in the beginning, they were saying 35, and they redid the numbers, and they came down to the 22.
Right.
So you have that report, which is the comprehensive on the maintenance, but that doesn't address necessarily the reserve, the hole in the reserve account.
Actually, it does, it's in there.
Okay.
Yep, they show a spot in there where they're trying to bring back up to the 3
But
months.
her concern was that we are not addressing those issues.
Right.
To her satisfaction.
Tonight,
What I
we're
thought.
not. Tonight, we're
No,
not.
not tonight, it's just, they
Right.
just put that number in the budget
Right.
as a placeholder,
Yeah.
give us something to work with.
Absolutely.
Just read through the rural water report, and, because they have graphs there that shows what it should be. And staff has so much to do, but I would suggest maybe some kind of a public information that shows these graphs from rural water, so that it's so visual.
Yeah, well, like I said, once we get that, we'll put it on the website, anybody can see it. And it's, it's pretty self-explanatory.
And will that go to the Utilities Commission meeting before Town Council for their input?
Let's see, yes, it should, yes, yes.
Right, thank you.
So that concludes utilities?
Unless anybody has any more questions. I know there's a ton of questions in there, but anything pertains to the budget, but.
Any other questions from the podium? Okay. Take it to the audience at this time. Again, state your name and address for the record.
Jack Comley, 607 Sunset Point Drive, Lake Placid, Florida. I'm concerned, as Colleen is, about the fire hydrants some fire hydrants not being operational, and also some of the underground water valves, which may or may not be feeding those fire hydrants. My wife worked in property and casualty insurance for many years, and if the insurance companies find out that we have fire hydrants that are not operational, the increases in the utility rates are going to be nothing compared to the increases in people's homeowners insurance. So that's something that really needs to be made a priority item.
We only have one hydrant out of service at this time. And I just ordered a hydrant, it just came in. They just haven't been flow tested and, painted and stuff, so.
Okay,
But
and-
I only have one hydrant out of service.
And all the whatever
The
underground,
isolation valves,
they're not feeding those, stopping those hydrants from working.
well, the isolation valves in front of the hydrant, they're not being exercised, but they're on, so.
Okay, but weren't there other in that report that they were talking about?
Oh, and they're talking about distribution valves. They're supposed to be twisted or turned once a year,
Yeah, but
and they've never been done. That
if-
means they're open, but you probably can't shut them off. So
Okay,
now if you have a break or something, you have to expand out to find other valves that work, so.
Okay, if I remember correctly, it also stated in that report that some of the valves couldn't be found.
Probably couldn't be found. If you can't find one, you just expand out a little farther to find other valves and shut off the system to do your repair. It's
Okay.
just- Their isolation valves are supposed to be every 500 foot. If you can't find them, you gotta go 1,000 foot.
Okay.
But just to reiterate,
Thank
you
you.
just have the one hydrant out of service.
Thank
so.
you.
Right now.
Pam Petros, 12373 Lost Lake Drive. I attend the regional utilities meetings and have for years. One of my biggest concerns for the town is the utility department, and I've stated that several times at town council meetings, utilities meetings. Going back to the interlake pipe busting, the original grant area is much longer than it ended up. It was supposed to go down 621 County Road. At that time, when this was 7 years in the making to get to the point that it was completed last year. But it went out to bid in like May 2022, and when it came back, it would cost overruns. So they decreased the scope of the project to make it only interlake. Then once they got in there and the contractor started doing the work, the valves that Jack's talking about, the so-and-so, there were some big issues that were underground and they didn't know about. They had to be replaced. So the contractor, all this stuff goes before the utilities meeting. I mean, I've heard it multiple times, but they decided to cut back on the flowers, the irrigation, so it wouldn't go over budget. So I'm surprised to hear that. I thought the grant was for $1 million. Y'all are saying 700,000. You're saying it ended up being 1.2 million. I thought that they had cut back everywhere they could so they wouldn't go over budget. So I'll look at that. And I'm not trying to defend Kevin McCarthy too much, but at the time, he was wearing 3 hats. He was the town administrator, he was the utilities director, and he was in charge of the $40 million DEP grant. And then we start talking about pickleball, and we start talking about recreation, and we start all this stuff. People can't handle, maybe they can handle 1 job, but not 3. I'm trying to go back, but he busted his butt, in my opinion, to get that pipe bursting project completed before the Christmas parade, completed. Everything was good to go, and so did other staff. That work only happened during the nighttime, and I know he was doing midnight checks on site visits and stuff. So I just don't, because he's not here, I don't want to throw him under the bus and just put all the blame on him, but this was happening when Joey was here. But last year, the Florida Rural Water Association report came before Utilities Committee. It's almost been a whole year since I've read that report. That was on the water. The sewer came up 3-4 months ago and was approved. There's just a lot of things. Y'all approved that Florida Rural Water report last month or the month before. So it's been out there. The information is there. People it gets to the end of the meeting and you got 30 minutes left and we skip over it. You're just like, okay, we approve it, next. It's a critical infrastructure area that it should be at the top of the agenda, in my opinion, every time. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. If I wanted to piggyback on that too, because with Kevin, it is not humanly possible to do the work that he was doing. And he was pushing himself so much to the point that we also have to note it was not hidden. He spent 2 months in the hospital because of the stress and the insurmountable amount of expectations. And I can say that because our staff and myself feel that. It is not to make excuses or to whine. This is our reality. And we've been saying that coming up, next month, at the end of the month, will be a year. And I have been saying that since week 2. So I want to say that we have to take a real hard look at how we are doing business, how we've been doing business, and how we plan to do this going forward. Because lives are dependent on the decisions that are made from this dais. And I am vested. I tell everybody, I have grandkids that are here. I have grandbaby number 9 on the way. So this is more than just a job. This is my legacy. And I've worked very hard to get here. And our staff have as well, and we're not going anywhere. We want to roll up our sleeves and be here to see this town succeed and thrive. So Pam, thank you, because I agree. There was no way Kevin could do this. It's not humanly possible.
I'd like to add the same thing. Kevin left me a great set of bones to work with. You know, he had a lot on his shoulders.
I echo what Pam and Charlotte said about Kevin. The man did heroic work to his incredible detriment. I would also go so far as to say, we need to spend more time on utilities than we do pickleball.
And you're looking at me for that because of why?
Because it feels like you and another friend of yours from Lake June Point keep revisiting pickleball to the expense of critical infrastructure.
So is this attorney speaking or a resident speaking?
Both.
Well, let's, so I totally agree, and Pam, thank you for those comments, because I think there's a lot of lessons learned, right? And one of the biggest lessons learned is when we are piling on, Charlotte, all of this, that's where you and the mayor as the CEO need to come back and say, look, we got to talk about priorities here. Because, you know, a lot of us even asked during the sewer plant, when all that was taking place, are you going to have enough resources? So it's just that, you know, these things need to be brought up so that they don't fall into the holes that they are.
Like I reviewed the asset plan they had there.
Come on up.
Everything needs to be done, but you don't have to have the revenue. So, you know, so I'm working at it. That's why I did get the well changed at Magnolia. That was been off for like 3 years. So now you got to back up, you know. So it's small things. We just got to take small bites and get at it. And the staff has been working with me, and we're getting there. It's going to take some time and some money, but we'll get there.
Okay.
I'm Rosemary Heath, and I live at 58, well, you know where I live. I don't quite understand what Joy was saying. Are the residents that use the water and the waste, are we paying for other communities as well?
No.
Because they're using our water and our waste, like Tamika Heights?
Yeah.
I think what he was trying to, go ahead.
Well, since, you know, the town went into the business of a local regional utility, they're all a part of the local utility. Tomoka Heights, Highway Park, Town of Lake Placid, even going out in the county some spots. The rates, the Tomoka has their own water and wastewater plant there. Highway Park has their own, but the wastewater is getting converted to the new $40 million wastewater plant. So it's one big utility now instead of just the Town of Lake Placid utility.
Now, do they pay their share?
Yes, they do. Everybody, this rate will be spread out around the whole regional utility.
Okay, thank you for explaining that to me.
Absolutely.
In fact,
And also, I always say this, and I'm sorry, I don't understand how you can spend $200,000 on pickleball with all this going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
and is it correct that the
Right.
people outside of town pay an extra 25% on the rate? Okay. Yeah. But generally, so it is distributed among everyone, Ms. Heath.
And I just wanted to leave on a positive note here. It has been a crunch time for the town of Lake Placid. We've been doing many projects, and it's such a blessing that we do have what we have, but sometimes the blessings can it's almost too much. But I wanted to be positive because this time next year, we're going to have the $40 million wastewater treatment plant done. We're going to have the pickleball done. Basically, the police station will almost be done. We're going to have Doge under our belt, and we will be in a different place next year. And again, I wanted to say, too, with even the taxation, I don't know what Amazon's going to bring to the table, but we have some positive things that we need to focus on and just get through this crunch time.
Yeah. And also, so everybody knows it, around Lake Placid, there are a lot of contaminated wells. They're called hot wells. The state mandated that we furnish them water. But the state did pay to have the water lines put in, but those residents do pay the full price of that. A lot of people don't realize that, but it does happen up around some of the lakes. So, yes, but everybody is paying their fair share. All right, any other questions from the audience? All right, we'll now go to the CRA.
Well, we have the cemetery, that is
Oh, we still
Allen
got more?
Apartment, so.
Cemetery.
Okay,
I think we did cemetery, didn't we?
Did we do cemetery?
yeah.
Yeah, we did
I
cemetery.
think everything was done except CRA.
Okay. Thank you. So on this CRA, it just, the projects is uncategorized. So I think they made some suggestions on those that just need to be incorporated in with the budget.
It's not up there. I
Yeah,
passed
she's
it
got
out.
it, just,
So you have a hard copy. It was just updated. Eva, hot off the press, thank you.
We had to review the last CRA meeting to make sure that we
I
had.
don't think we can see it.
After the last CRA meeting, I wasn't in attendance, so between T and I went through the meeting to make sure we incorporated all the changes that the CRA board recommends to the town council for the budget to move projects to 25, 26. So what you have in front of you in the green is basically what they moved, CRA board moved. The others were already in the 25, 26. If you go to the last page, you're going to see that there's the total of that line for 25, 26 is $646,430. Rachel, we looked at it, CRA available funds in the uncategorized is $638,994. You will have to scale back one of the projects by the $7,436.
Can, the public doesn't have this, right?
Yeah,
So you passed out a
we
piece.
just got that done, and
Can we put it on the overhead or something? I mean, will it be posted on the website later so that people can see?
yeah.
Because this is the result of
I
a,
can post it on the website.
okay, so
yeah.
this is the result of our CRA meeting.
Yes.
And so what's your plan for tonight? Because this is a budget workshop.
So the plan is, if you're okay with what it'll come back to town council, because town council approves the final budget. The CRA board is recommending these projects, so we will readjust the budget for these projects to reflect within the budget. And we'll take them out of the, right, Rachel, out of the uncategorized.
Yeah, we'll
and break
categorize
out.
them. based on
But
these
how do you
projects.
get town input, right, resident input from not seeing it? Do you want?
We'll put it out there, but ultimately council's the one that votes on it. And so all of the items that were here, if we did that in the CRA meeting. We did that already in the meeting last week. And so we had said at that time that we were going to make the changes, but then it would come here to be discussed again among council, because CRA makes the recommendation to council. Council then is the one who has to say yes or no. And then when we adopt the budget, it all happens at the same time.
You will have, also you will have, the public has the opportunity on first and second reading of the town budget to see the final product.
But basically, I'd just like to hear whatever you all are thinking. So we went over our budget by adding things and not having a total. We need to reduce some projects, $7,436. We could spread that over several projects or one project, or I'd just like to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Well, now, last year, we took the $32,000 for a septic to sewer grant program and used that elsewhere. So a very simple adjustment would take the $7,000 out of the $32,000.
That sounds like the thing to do is take that, just what you said, take the 7 out of the 32.
That was easy. Thank you, Joy. Thank you,
Are we
Ms.
good with that?
Councilmember.
okay. All right, any other comments on the CRA? I will take it the audience. Any questions for the board? Okay, seeing none. All right, I guess at this time, Rachel, I'm going to send it back to you for a final recap of the 25-26 budget.
So, looking at the changes, it's only the changes for the CRA, the 7,436. But other than that, the budget stays the same, for clarity, right? Okay.
So I have a question. If we go back 4 weeks ago, right, because we didn't rehash those because of, so if we go back to, I think we have 1.6 million in there for police department, and the bids came in today, and it was going to take it all of infrastructure reserve, right? We have a 2.3 infrastructure reserve, which are going to take 300 for Harry, 200 for pickleball, and 1.6 for a police station, a new police station. And now the bids are coming back a little higher?
They are. The lowest bid is 2.2. However, based off of value engineering, we anticipate that that number will come down. We just got the bids today, so there was a meet and pull it down as far as we can. So that's not a hard number yet.
Do you think you're going to get it down to 1.6?
1.6, 1.9 is what the aim is for.
So where will that money be coming from?
1.6 is already in the budget. Rachel, do you want to pull that so you?
Well, it's not an approved budget, right? It's a line item here that
Correct.
needs,
Right.
because it was never approved to come out of infrastructure. It was always for a legislative grant, and last year's CIP said USDA loan.
That is correct, but how this budget is put in, it is put in the budget for the infrastructure.
It's being proposed.
Yes,
Right.
that is correct.
At 1.6.
Yes.
And where will, if it's 1.82 million, where will that come from?
We will have to go back to the drawing board and kind of see where those funds will come from. So I get with the town administrator.
So, I mean, I'll continue to say I think it's unaffordable, trying to understand the real need for spending that much money out of infrastructure when we have a lot of other projects that need to get done. Not saying that the current police station shouldn't be remodeled. I know that the comment was made, well, we looked at that a few years ago. Chief, you had answered my question last time, is how much would it be to remodel the current station? And you had said we looked at that years ago. But it wasn't what we looked at, was remodeling the town hall.
We've actually looked at remodeling the building we're in as well, and one of the
That's
things
what I'm
we have
saying, the
been
current
told is that when you're looking at remodeling, you're also looking at demolition costs on top of reconstruction costs, which drive it up to cost more than a new construct. So we were strongly urged to move in the direction of new construction and stay away from the remodeling. Because again, like I said, you're looking at the demolition cost, hauling away all the materials, and then you have to come back and pay for the reconstruction. Also, in the location we're at currently, there is no room for growth, and it is extremely limited parking, which is one of the reasons we were also looking outside at a new construct or a different location. I can't make the space, and I don't know exactly how much it would cost for that. I just know what we were cautioned against and told before.
Okay. And again, we could always add this on with a budget amendment once we get all the funding considered, versus for something as sizable as this, I feel there should be an open meeting with the public, and that we would present what is the need that we need to spend this for a building. And I know that we've gone down this path, but it was legislative grant, and then it was USDA loan, and now it's all the town of Lake Placid money. That's my concern.
Okay, I've been quiet all night. I'm waking up now. I think the joy that I saw in some faces when all the bids were read and they were over budget was deplorable. It's not us that is suffering, it's the police department, and it's the town of Lake Placid. I think you're a little bit early at jumping in
and wanting to take that 1.6 million right out of there. I think you're very early in talking about, let's talk about this again, because I can tell you that I have lived in this town since 1979. And it has been probably 1990 or so, they were already saying that the police department needed to be replaced. I have council minutes and notes from 2022, how we have discussed and discussed and discussed in an open meeting forum, and I really think the horse is dead. We have beaten this thing absolutely up, and had we moved on it when it was first approved, we would be well under budget with anything that would have come in at that time. But no, we had to think about it again and again and again, and yet you want to think about it again, fine. You can talk about it until you're blue in the face, and the numbers keep going up. So let's just let it sit for the moment. Let's approve the budget that we have, and let's see how it comes out. It hasn't even been 24 hours until the bids have been here. It's a little early for rejoicing.
Okay. Go ahead.
That pretty much sums up the budget. We done went through all the departments, and like I said, only the one change is for the CRA, but other than that, no other changes will be made to the budget. And it will be presented at the first reading on September the 8th as with that one change made.
Yeah, we'll have a lot more information then.
Yes.
From all the other stuff we're working with the Florida League of Cities. So.
Could I make a comment?
Yeah.
I have been asked about the audit. So our auditors, Rachel and I met with the auditors on Monday. We also met with the auditors on Tuesday. There were questions about the way that the ARPA funds for the police department were handled. Councilwoman Charles, it's my understanding, Daniel said you contacted him a week or a half ago or something, so you've already spoken with him. And he explained that I do not have the a guide, so to speak, from him. However, all of you received a notice from Accentria. Accentria is who the county has used, and that's who they also recommended for us to use with any ARPA questions. We also met with them when we were up at Florida League of Cities. They are very reputable. They have been around for a very long time. They provided us with the guide prior, and we did bring it up to council at that time, and we asked council if we wanted to use their services, and it was about $4,000, I believe, was the quote. Don't hold me to that. However, at that time, we said no, we weren't going to do that. We were also asked if we were emailing the Treasury, and that vote was not made here. Now, we did, as Councilwoman Worley stated, DOJ was there. We sat in a very long meeting with them. They made it clear that, yes, they are looking at this, but what they're primarily focusing on is not a true audit as in audit terms, meaning like what you're looking at line by line and dollar by dollar. They want to make sure we have the money in the bank. Obviously, we already see that we have issues. But the other part that they're looking at is they want to know that we have proper processes in place. And they don't plan to be here long. This is not a full-time thing. This is only goal-oriented, is for us to see what the issues are. There was open forum. We had to put things on a card, and they only read off the cards which questions they felt like were pertinent to the time. We did have a quick moment immediately after to be able to address them. However, they were getting him out of there as quickly as possible. If they come, they will evaluate everything, but they're not digging into this. They want to see my contracts. They want to look at those things. It's not the money, as though everybody is thinking and is saying. That's not the case. Our governor has gotten ahead of this and called it the Florida DOJ because he stands behind that people in Florida and in government have been doing what they're supposed to, not that they've been doing something wrong. And please, at any time, you both were there with me, interject at any time. They said that if they come, they're actually coming to help. And I understand that auditors will say certain things, but I just don't think that's the case. We were asked to turn phones off. We were asked to make sure all electronics were off because they were having a real and transparent conversation with every municipality that was represented there. After I sat there, because I have a previous history, long history of working in healthcare, I came to realize that I've already been through this. I work for a federal organization. I say if DOJ comes, bring it on. We are fine. If there are issues to be found, then let's find them right now so that we can fix them, because we have residents in this town that we have all been tasked. You are the elected officials, but we take it seriously when we put our hands to the work. We serve these people day in and day out because we love this town. I've sat through those audits. I can happily say that we've passed them successfully. Not the first year, and maybe not the second, but we did get things under control. And if you ever want to come see, in the third year, something about that number 3, we had top performing measures across the board. So sometimes change is necessary, and it is uncomfortable. And I'm going to step out here and say it doesn't have to be nasty, though. We do not have to do business in an unprofessional way that insults or tears down anybody's character or the work or your position. We can all agree to disagree and move the town of Lake Placid into the future that it needs to be. Not that we want it to be, because we all have our own ideas about what we think the town of Lake Placid should look like. But I hope that the decisions are being made based off of what the residents want and not off of our own personal agendas, because that's what's going to get us into even more trouble. So I say that because I've worked here for almost a year, and I feel like we have almost halted. I feel like I'm in a twilight zone sometimes. But it's okay. The first year's been hard, but we're going to get there. It's been challenging, but it's also been rewarding, because I have met some amazing team members here that I don't believe many even realize. They probably don't even know their names. And we are getting ready to lose a lot of top talent. A lot of top talent. And I don't know if you've looked around, but there's not a lot of people coming to work in government. And I have said these things. I have talked about the priorities over and over and over. And instead it was not received. I was told that I was preaching. I'm not preaching. I'm giving you the facts, and our staff is being as transparent as we possibly can, because we understand what we are looking at. And I don't want the state up here. But the reality is if we don't make the better decisions, and I say I back up, because it's all of you that have to do that. It's all of you. You have qualities, you have qualities, you have qualities, you have qualities, and you have qualities. And we all are part of that. And think about, if you take your hands right now, that's 5. But then I count all my staff. Well, let's take a punch at this, and instead of devouring each other, why don't we move this town into the future that it's supposed to be? And that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Charles.
Yeah, any other comments from the podium? All right, now I'm going to open up to the audience. You got 3 minutes to say anything that you'd like to before we adjourn.
Charles Wilson, 763 Sunset Point Drive. Has that audit been presented to the town council yet? It has not.
It has not.
Okay. I have a question, and this may be for legal or for the mayor. On page 4 of the packet, it says council members whose citizens of the town elect play a vital role in developing the town's policies and ensuring the town's interests are well represented. It was just documented that Councilman Charles is contacting the auditor before the results of the audit are made public to the rest of the council or the public. The whole point of the audit is to be neutral and let them come up with their findings without contacting them, and I'm just wondering if that's within your policies, ethical, or even legal. Thank you.
Can I say that council can ask questions?
conflicting of interest. Back to utilities. When we talk about revenue generating, the Lake Placid Camp and Conference Center, the water line has been proposed for about 2 years, and it's not gone out for bid. There's no update. The last utilities meeting, the update was that it's in between the two attorneys. So when you think about that, if that line was up and running, that would be more revenue for the utilities department. And then also the sewer line, it's up and running now. So I wonder, have y'all built that into your budget going forward? Are you making $1,000 a month from them, $20,000 on the, estimated gallons per day? And then I think you're being forced to have really tough discussions that have perhaps been put off for years. But how do you get new water and sewer customers? Do you discuss annexation, new development as customers? And then at a certain point, you're going to have to talk about septic to sewer and getting people around the $40 million, actually putting it in, into play and hooking people up, because you went from everybody has to pay the full amount to then council, nobody pays for anything. And I think those discussions are going to take a long time. But every time somebody hooks up, that's more revenue. But grinder pumps, and do they pay for it? Do they not? But that, to me, every week or every 2 weeks, that discussion should need to be had by the council. Thank you.
And just to add to that, everybody's shortly going to get an education when it comes to the 2030 plan. We have, Jennifer's going to be coming to council and do a presentation on that. But when that hits, it's going to hit pretty hard. So just keep that in the back of your head. We're going to have a lot more information on it to come, but that's part of the septic to sewer that is, I don't even understand it all, but it's going to be major. So I want everybody to understand that and get ready for it. Okay. Yes, sir, come forward.
Jack Conley, 607 Sunset Point Drive. Just one comment on the police station. Has anybody looked into what's going to be done with the old building? Is that going to be sold, and if so, has anybody looked at a rough idea what kind of price they might get for that, which could be used possibly to offset some of the cost of the new?
Debra has already done that.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Debra has already done that.
Right. When we started into talking about the new police station, we had the town hall, and that money and the police station that they're in now, the building, and the fire station, which is when the new fire station takes over, that's town property. The Highlands County's been there, it's our property. So we were going to sell those buildings and that property to fund the new police station. Now, we sold the original building for like $325,000. They say that when we had our realtor expert come, that it's very saleable where the police station is now. So as soon as we get them moved over, that'll go on the market and should hopefully sell quickly. And then the fire station we've talked about maybe moving it to utilities, because we've expanded the regional utility, and it's viable that we could store equipment there, and for all of our projects, we could maybe still use that. So that may not be sold, but that was the original plan, to take those monies and fund the police department.
Okay, but you don't have any estimate yet on what the old police station could possibly sell for?
We'd have to get an update. There was one estimate, but it's been 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, about 2 or 3 years ago. So we'd have to get an updated estimate on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chet Heath, 588 Sunset Point Boulevard. I just want to come to her defense. She's got a financial background. I'm glad that she would go in there and ask people what their processes are and how they're coming about it. I think she ought to know. I don't see anything wrong with that. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All right, if there's nothing else, September 8th, hopefully we'll have a lot of information for everybody and be able to answer a lot more questions. But until then,